銀世界
Hello guys, welcome back to my reaction channel. Today we're going to react to One Piece episode 362. Now guys, I'm sorry, in the last episode Zoro got his ass whooped, bro. My man got violated, and considering that he just broke his promise to Luffy in front of Mihawk, right? When he lost to Mihawk, he swore he would never lose again to another samurai ever. And he just lost to another samurai, bro. A dead samurai, in fact. That's crazy, right? He defeated Mr. One. That guy was considered a samurai too, right? With the steel, he went past his limits and broke that bitch, but now, yo, he got violated. They ended that episode with Zoro unconscious, so that was a crazy fight, and that guy Ryuma, whatever his name is, still won. That is impressive. That is actually crazy. But that being said, if you enjoy my reactions, feel free to share, subscribe, like, leave a comment, join the Patreon, support your boy, Discord, all that. Let's go. Slash is dancing on the roof. Final. Finale. Okay, looks like this is not over. Never heard of it. Yeah, he doesn't have. Yeah, so honestly, I forgot about that fact. So Zoro is in a disadvantage from the start because he can't use his 3-sword style because he's missing one sword, right? So he's kind of have to like do it with 2 swords, which makes him a bit nerfed. Yo, they're both excited. Whoa! Oh my god, Zoro's a beast too. Oh yeah, one slip up and one of them is dead. And we saw Zoro unconscious. Yeah. Oh, the building's gonna collapse? Yo, Zoro just took the L. Oh no, he's okay. Ooh, it's caving in. Bro, how did such a strong and powerful swordsman from the New World end up here in Thriller Bark? Of all places. That was close. I like how this samurai has the proper samurai drip. Well, they almost brought down a building and... Okay. So he's saying... So did Zoro just confirm that this samurai alive would be even more powerful? So Zoro just acknowledged that this is, zombie is a shadow of his former self, and yet... a shadow. Get it? Because it has Brook's shadow, so it's a pun, but it wasn't intentional. Regardless, this samurai is a shadow of its former self, but yet he can keep up with Zoro. Zoro's saying if this if this zombie was the legendary swordsman himself from the New World, he would have whooped Zoro. Tell me in the comments if that's the case, but... I was waiting for this fight. Oh, he got him a little. How is he bleeding if he's a zombie? Ignited? So that was the blow that sent Zoro flying down and unconscious, but this guy wasn't going Super Saiyan, but I thought it was his power-up. Zoro cutting him ignited the wound somehow, so my man is literally on fire. So he might actually lose. He lost? How come? What do you mean? He didn't put salt in your mouth. Yo, so they really had us in the first half. Brook saying this in the first half and them showing us Zoro on his back. I thought Zoro really violated his oath to Luffy and lost. Looks like Zoro set this guy on fire and this guy just acknowledged that he lost. So that's crazy. That is a fact. Yeah, he's gonna give him the sword. Yo, he really put this zombie on fire with one slash. Yo, Zoro cool as hell. Look at him. How did he expel him? Yo! I just unintentionally did the Brook laugh, bro. Yo! My man got his shadow back. I did not see that one coming. Yo! Zoro really did it! What was that? The subtitles, my shadow Moria cut off Moria. Yeah. That was crazy what those subtitles just did. They made a boo-boo. Why? Why does he want to pretend like this never happened? My man turned into a ghost himself. Look at this. How did you go into that? Yeah, but now he's starting to become a full zombie. Yeah, Oz is not even gonna notice you. Oh. He stopped himself. That's crazy. To be continued. Well, okay, yeah, I think we have another yap session from my editor. That being said, before we start, yeah, Zoro defeating this samurai was a twist. They really had me in the first half, not gonna lie. Last episode, they made it seem like Zoro got whooped. But apparently, Zoro, in fact, whooped him, set him on fire and everything, took his sword and said, I'm gonna pretend this fight never happened. Why? That was a good W. Why would you be embarrassed of that? But yeah, I love how confident Zoro is in his bravado after beating the samurai, showed him respect and all that, right? This guy, the samurai from the land of Wano, apparently, this guy was very strong. I don't even know how he ended up here as a zombie. This guy, Moria, might be stronger than we thought, man. And seeing this fight against Luffy, he's not even participating, he's whooping Luffy. So yeah, definitely has some hacks, bro, with those shadows and his devil fruit. But what I wanted to say here is, yeah, I was waiting for the Zoro fight. Glad he won. Sanji also won, right? He took Nami back, defeated the Invisible Man, and he wanted the Invisible Fruit, right, for himself, because he's a big old perv. But yeah, the only fight left now is from the Monster Trio is Luffy against Moria, and he's not getting anywhere, and Oz is coming, so Luffy's gonna have to fight his own shadow. I guess Zoro's done, and he can provide backup or something, but still. Oh yeah, and I think Zoro did kinda insinuate that this guy, the samurai, if he was really alive and really here, he would be a stronger opponent than the zombie, right? He's just a former shadow, like he's just a shadow of his former self, and yet he gave Zoro such a hard time. Impressive. But Brook got his shadow back, right? He's one step closer to reuniting with Laboon. But okay, that's all I have to say about this episode. We're gonna hear a Yap session from my editor, and then I'm gonna probably watch the 2 Yap sessions from 2 previous episodes, because I was really low on time in the last 2 reactions, so I kind of just skimmed through it, let you guys watch on your own. But I really want to concentrate and listen this time, because you know, my editor takes puts a lot of effort into it. But it's just the last time I reacted, I just didn't have the time. I only had the time for the episodes, so I wasn't expecting a 10-minute Yap after each one, so I just had to cut it short. But that being said, let's see what he has to say today. Let's go.
He has actually done it. Zoro just defeated Ryuma. Now, I will let you know right now that the real Ryuma would have actually destroyed Zoro here, because while his body is that of Ryuma, he is limited by Brook's soul. The real Ryuma is so much stronger. Like, for example, the dog penguin zombie that has Sanji's shadow is much weaker than the actual Sanji, the real Sanji that we know, right? Because of the zombie body limiting him, right? The strength of a zombie actually depends on if both the body and the soul are really powerful. Ryuma is stronger than...
So wait, in Sanji's case, the limiter is the penguin's body, not Sanji's shadow, right? But in this case, the limiter was Brook's shadow, not the samurai body. Is that what you're saying? So basically, I was right.
Zoro, but Zoro is stronger than Brook. Also, zombie bodies are always weaker than the real ones because they're...
What did he say?
Also, zombie bodies Zoro, but are really on if body limiting him, right? The strength of a zombie actually depends on if both the body and the soul are really powerful.
Okay.
Ryuma is stronger than Zoro, but Zoro is stronger than Brook. Also, zombie bodies are always weaker than the real ones because they're decaying, so the zombie Ryuma is much weaker than the actual real-life body of him, which gave Zoro a more even matchup. Keep in mind, Ryuma is a samurai from Wano. Wano is in the New World, and the New World has much stronger characters than the first half of the Grand Line. Moria also said that he lost to a guy named Kaido, who's also in the New World.
That is a fact.
Kai losing to a person in the New World goes to show how strong New World characters actually are. They would destroy the crew right now. Also, Zoro won against the zombie Ryuma because he used a fire attack on it, actually. He used a new technique that he developed called Kaen, which means blaze, as you can see at the top. Salt and fire both seem to work for defeating zombies and getting the shadows back, right? So, okay.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that actually makes sense, right? Because he didn't put salt in him, he just set him on fire, and that made the shadow go away because he's gonna burn the body. But that's very interesting because they had me in the first half. I thought the samurai defeated Zoro and he was flaming, so I thought he actually went Super Saiyan, some crazy attack, right? But it was actually Zoro taking the W. They had me in the first half.
And also about Oz and his name, technically it is Oars, you know, as in the things that you row with. Funny thing is, in Japan they call him Oz, spelled like O-H-Z. Here's the cover of one of the Japanese DVD, it says O-H-Z, so Oz. So it's kind of all over the place. Oars, Oz, Oz. It doesn't really matter, but I figure I'd let you know. With that out of the way...
Yeah, I saw in the comments people say, it's Oars, it's Oz, no, it's Oz, it's Oz, it's easier to say Oz, stop it. But looks like you guys grew up watching it as Oars, so it really annoys you when you hear me say it differently, so it doesn't really matter, it's not that deep.
Shall continue with the manga chapter covers, now doing volume 23, 24, and 25, which are chapter 206 to 236. So, volume 23's cover is cute. Vivi smiling in the middle with the Straw Hat crew desperately trying to save her and fight for her to save Arabasta, really great stuff. So, chapter 206's cover continues the Hachi cover story. You better not have watched the last episode a week ago, because if you did, you probably forgot how the earlier parts of this story went, so it's a very short...
Yeah, well, I skimmed through it, like I said, so I'm gonna watch it after this. Maybe I should have watched it before. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna hear what he has to say here, and I'm gonna go back and watch it in this episode. This is gonna be a long reaction.
Shortly recap, last time Hachi was tricked by a fellow fisherman pirate, Macro, who gave him the fake takoyaki recipe map and got mad at him for deceiving him. Now in this chapter cover, you see Hachi is rushing back to the place he met Macro, but he and his gang are gone. Papagu is pointing the way, and of course Kami is with them as well. Chapter 207's cover, you see Macro and his gang riding above the seas with Kami trapped in a special entrapment on their ship because they're actually going to sell her off because mermaids are actually worth a lot of money in the world of One Piece. Chapter 208's cover has Hachi catching up to them and he easily destroys their ship. Chapter 209's cover has Hachi hold Macro with them protesting that they actually honored the deal. In other words, Hachi didn't get tricked at all, which he's confused by. In the back, you see Kami reunite with their starfish buddy Papagu, who's very relieved. Chapter 210's cover, we return to the squid Hachi beat up last time, with Kami and Papagu also being shocked that it's been defeated. Hachi finds out that Macro and his crew indeed were very honest because what he's been looking for was inside the octopus's head, and it's a jar with the perfect takoyaki sauce. Chapter 211's cover, Hachi is carrying the octopus with all his stuff on it, looking very excited because he's on his way to re-propose to his former lover, Octopaco, which is why he was searching for all of this stuff in the first place, if you remember. He'll make the perfect takoyaki with this big octopus in addition to the sauce. In chapter 212's cover, it turns out that Octopaco has actually gone out for a stroll on the seafloor, carried by an entourage of blowfish. Chapter 213's cover is a break from this story, as this week we have a double-page color spread with the crew, and you can see them having lunch on a rooftop, but the crew is actually surprised to see a bunch of seagulls and pigs with parachutes that are trying to steal their food. The title of this art is Boo, Paratroops. It's a pun, actually, not only because boo is a way of surprising, and of course the crew's surprised about, being invaded by these animals, but boo in Japanese actually means oink. And of course there are pigs here, right? Oda's comment on this art in Color Walk 3 is this: nothing hits the spot after cooking a meal like a good smoke. The sound of the waves arrives on the sea breeze. The gulls cry, squawk, squawk, oink, squawk, squawk, oink, pigs. So yeah, nothing to write home about, but still pretty cool. This week, One Piece is featured on the cover of the Weekly Jump magazine with every single Shonen Jump series on the cover, as this was released during Christmas of 2001, close to New Year's of 2002. The next week's issue released during New Year's of 2002, so of course many Shonen Jump series are again featured on the cover. This week's issue has chapter 214 on the inside, and the cover of that chapter is where we continue with the cover story, with Octopaco coming across a recently destroyed village, and she's mocking the survivors, very heartless. This is the woman Hachi wants to propose to. He better dodge that bullet. Chapter 215's cover shows that Octopaco left, and we see that Hachi, Kami, and Papagu found the village with those poor catfish people. Kami and Papagu are crying for them. It's actually interesting to see the difference between Kami and Octopaco, where Octopaco is a heartless woman who laughs at people suffering, and Kami is a sweetheart mermaid girl who actually feels sympathy for people in need. Chapter 216's cover has Hachi running from the village with treasure to Kami and Papagu's shock, but it's not from those villagers, it's actually from Macro. So I'm done with volume 23's contents, and here is the cover for volume 24. Luffy holding his hat with his eyes closed, and we see Bellamy, the monkeys from Jaya, and Robin at the bottom left as she joins the crew around this time. This volume also comes with this. Yes, freaking Snoop Dogg dressed as Chopper. Yes, Oda drew it. Don't ask me why.
What?
Shit, maybe Anel really is Eminem at this rate. But anyway, continuing right now with chapter 217's cover, Hachi, after taking Macro's treasure, is actually intending on helping the catfish village by using that treasure to buy tools for the ultimate takoyaki kitchen. One Piece isn't featured on the cover of the magazine this week, but the magazine inside did come with this artwork. It's Luffy and Vivi, with Vivi having tons of guns, looking really cool, and Luffy carrying meat and looking afar, and there are also many swords around here, so yeah. Chapter 208's cover has Hachi making takoyaki with Kami and Papagu helping him defeat the starving catfish villagers. Chapter 219's cover is after the village has been fed, we see Kami and Papagu resting, while Hachi saves one final batch of takoyaki for Octopaco. Chapter 220's cover, we see Hachi, Kami, and Papagu running into her. Octopaco pretends to care about Hachi, but she just wants the food, as you can see. Keimi and Papaku are very suspicious of her, rightfully so. Chapter 221's cover is a double-page color spread titled Now Please Relax. It's Usopp actually holding a exhibition for his latest invention, the Power Alarm Clock. But Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, and even this penguin who's Usopp's apprentice here, fall into a deep sleep out of pure boredom. Oda's comment on this artwork in Color Walk 3 is this: on a pleasant afternoon, the great inventor is about to unveil the most devastating alarm clock of the century. Looks like he'll have a chance to test it right away. Yeah, Oda giving props to the great Usopp-sama, it seems. One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine this week with the crew eating food on this sakura tree. We see Usopp climbing the tree, Luffy eats meat with one hand and holds his drink up with the other hand. Chopper is eating a tangerine, Nami's holding her fist up while smiling, and look at that, Zoro and Sanji are actually getting along here. That's an incredibly rare sight to see. Back to the cover story with chapter 222's cover, where Hachi's declaration of love is interrupted by one final customer, the head elder of the Catfish Village. In chapter 223's cover, Hachi gives the final batch of takoyaki to the elder, who's grateful, but Octopaco beats the heck out of him and just leaves him for good, with Keimi and Papagu being shocked. That's their thing, by the way. Keimi and Papagu have very shocked faces incredibly often. Chapter 224's cover is Hachi watching the sunset all depressed, as his chances with Octopaco are ruined for good, and he resigns from even trying to ever be with her again. Keimi's trying to cheer him up, as you can see here as well. Chapter 225's cover, Hachi, Keimi, and Papagu fall asleep, with Hachi remembering his childhood dream of actually wanting to run his own takoyaki stand. Chapter 226's cover is actually a double-page color spread, again taking a break from the cover story. It's titled in French, and it's Nami saying this because there's even a heart at the end of the sentence, which tends to be in Nami's dialogue in the manga and not in Robin's dialogue. The French sentence is Il y a encore plein de choses que je veux. Oda really loves doing like the whole romance language thing. Spanish, now French, like what's next? Italian, whatever. It means there are still lots of things I want. That's clearly Nami right there saying that, because look at all the stuff that she has bought. Look at all this shit. And look at her fingers. She's still counting down what else she wants. She's still counting that. Robin is tagging along with her on her shopping spree, and Chopper is incredibly tired, probably because he had to carry all of her stuff. Robin and Nami's outfits are cool though, by the way. Robin's shirt and jeans combo actually works surprisingly well. Nami has glasses on, and a cat is also behind her with the same glasses on. Now that's actually intentional because Nami's animal is a cat. Like that's kind of like our theme. Like we know that like all the crew have like nicknames and stuff like that, right? Like Pirate Hunter Zoro, Straw Hat Luffy, Black Leg Sanji. Well, Nami's is Burglar Cat or Cat Burglar Nami. Every single Straw Hat has an animal associated with them too, by the way. Of course, Luffy like has a monkey. Zoro's animal is a tiger. Nami's animal is a cat. So yeah, so on and so forth. Oda's comment on this artwork in Color Walk 3 is this: a little tea break after shopping all over town. Once they're done, it's back to that one shop to take a second look at that one outfit, and then the other one. Then, what do you mean we'll have even more bags to carry? Yep. Poor Chopper describing carrying Nami's 10 million outfits. This cover art got animated actually for one of the openings that you saw earlier. This was actually near the end of the opening, but at the very beginning of the opening, there was actually an added scene where they actually animated Nami, Robin, and Chopper shopping. Nami and Robin even have like the same clothes on from like the cover, and Chopper is carrying the stuff. See? The openings even got a plot if you pay attention to the visuals. But anyway, this is it for content in Volume 24. The final volume I'm going to talk about is Volume 25, and here is the cover of it. It has Luffy and Blackbeard posing and yelling in the exact same way with Shanks and Buggy in the background. And in the middle is Sengoku's goat.
Why the hell is Buggy there, bro? We have Blackbeard, Shanks, and Luffy, 3 goats with the goat between them, and then there's Buggy. Why? We need a clown? Literally?
And this was obviously around the time where, like, you know, Sengoku was introduced alongside with Kuma and Doflamingo, you know, 2 more Shichibukai that were introduced during Jaya. Chapter 227's cover, the Catfish villagers are actually revealed to be excellent shipwrights, and they built an entire ship for Hachi to sell his takoyaki on as repayment for saving them. And finally, the end of the cover story with chapter 228's cover, where we see Hachi sailing off to new adventures together with Keimi and Papagu. Hachi's actually a good guy now, as opposed to being with, Arlong and being his underling. Make sure to remember this cover story. This week, One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine with other Shonen Jump protagonists, as this was Golden Week of 2002. Chapter 229's cover, we see Luffy atop a bell tower trying to fish this big bird by using bread as bait. Chapter 230's cover has Sanji relaxing on a comfortable bed with some fine wine and 3 faithful dogs by his side. Chapter 231's cover, we see Chopper with a cowboy hat on, riding on a fierce bull in the mountains. Chapter 232's cover, we see Nami hitchhiking along with a fox, with her also having a suitcase along with her, probably filled with super valuable stuff. Chapter 233's cover has Zoro basket fishing in a river. This bear over here is offering to give Zoro his own fish, but Zoro refuses. Chapter 234's cover has Usopp actually going spearfishing, and he somehow, someway, I don't know how, managed to dive deep enough in order to encounter a whale. I mean, you gotta dive really deep in order to do that. Chapter 200...
I mean, whales sometimes go submerge and so maybe he caught glimpse of it and was like, right place at the right time.
35's cover has Robin actually sprouting a spare leg for a wounded hyena so it can actually play a ball game with its friends. That's incredibly sweet, really.
Hilarious.
Finally, chapter 236's cover is the start of a cover story. We just see a forest on a random island, but we actually see footsteps as well, and also a big bite mark on the tree. So which character we've met in the past could this cover story be about? Well, that shall be answered next time, as this is it for now. See ya.
Maybe Wapol? That mother effer could eat anything, right? But regardless, that was the ending of the cover story that I skimmed through in the last episode. So I'm gonna go back now and watch the previous 2 Yap sessions. I'm still gonna skim through it a bit, right? Because this is a long reaction and I gotta implement some sort of tariff or something, bro. Where if he goes beyond 5 minutes of Yap, I'm not watching it, bro. I'm sorry. Like 5 minutes is gonna be the maximum you have to put new info after the episode, because this is crazy. Like this is becoming longer than the episode itself, and I don't have the time to do it. Like it just, like, by the time I'm done with all this, I could have watched an extra episode. So yeah, I'm gonna have to implement a literal boundary. So if he goes 1 second beyond 5 minutes, I'm not watching it. That's gonna teach him to not yap so much. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate all the additional info and all that, but I'm so busy that I barely have enough time to watch the episodes itself. So when he adds on all this crazy good info, I want to hear it, but it just messes up my whole schedule. So 5 minutes is gonna have to start, but it's gonna have to start in 5-6 episodes, because he already gave me a few episodes in advance, and he told me that he yapped a lot. So I'm gonna have to have a talk with him, but out of respect for him, I'm gonna go back and rewatch carefully the last 2 Yap sessions. You guys don't have to watch this because I already implemented those in the last 2 reactions. So if you watch it then this is just me rewatching it, right? So it doesn't matter. This is for him to see whether I enjoyed it or not, basically. But regardless, not much to add. Cool cover story. I'm about to see the first part of it. And cool episode. I was really waiting for Zoro versus that samurai, and it did not disappoint. That being said, that's all I have for you now, guys. Enjoy. Bye. Okay, guys, this is a Yap session after 360. Let's go.
Continue with the manga covers yet again today. So today I'll do volume 17, 18, and 19. So chapter 146 to 176. So let's begin already. Volume 17's cover has Luffy, Sanji, and Chopper against Wapol and his gang. Makes sense. This is when the 3 fought against them. Chapter 146's cover is the Django cover story again. Moving on. Chapter 147's cover is a double-page color spread. You see the crew running on the beach with a big Sea King bird in the back. Luffy is rushing, carrying meat on his back, but everybody else is focused on his hat. Usopp is pointing towards it. Zoro's face is actually my favorite part of this artwork. I mean, look at the dude. He's so nonchalant. I love it. Sanji is jumping up, trying to catch the hat, looking kind of frustrated that Luffy's not being careful with it. Nami is also jumping, trying to catch the hat, looking more happy to get it on the other hand. There's also some Spanish text on the top left of this artwork. Oda's comment on this artwork in Color Walk 2 is this: Acabello famo pel mar. I think that's how you say it. It means means cross the sea in Spanish. I'm pretty sure I looked it up. Yeah, Oda feeling a bit cultural that day, huh? Alright then. This week, One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine, and this cover is lovely. Just look at these guys, man. Although again, a distant lack of Vivi in these artworks. Oh well. Anyway, Sanji is carrying Usopp on his shoulders with a nice smile. Usopp is totally feeling like a boss 100%, having one of Zoro's katanas in his hand, while with the other hand he's raising his fist. Nami is leaning on Luffy's head with her trademark smile. Luffy's also smiling, holding one of Zoro's katanas, and of course Zoro does the exact same thing, although his smile is more of a smirk. The color walk makes you see it a bit more clearly like usual. You can also see Mary here as well, so yeah, good stuff. Moving on, chapter 148, 49, 150, and 151 continue with the Django cover story. This is when Django and Full Body become good friends. Chapter 152's cover is a double-page color spread where everybody except for Usopp and Karu are reading a book. Luffy with glasses, which is quite a rare sight to see. Usopp is actually preparing to draw a bird, who is also preparing to draw him, and Karu is seemingly tired with Vivi petting him. Nami and Sanji are not in the color spread, but Chopper is here now, so from now on, because Chopper joined, he'll be featured in the cover arts. Chapter 152 was after Wappo's defeat. It was actually when Nami was still recovering in her bed, but acting devious with Dr. Kureha with those keys that she had, so yeah. One Piece is featured on the magazine cover this week, and it's actually sports themed, and I think this was for promoting an actual real-life athlete, I believe. You can tell that each crew member has a different sport associated with them. It is much easier to see in the color walk though, although Luffy has his own page while the rest of the crew shares 2 pages. Luffy is baseball themed with a neighbor's shirt. Zoro is judo themed. That's actually very cool, also acting very intimidating. Nami is a swimmer, giving a thumbs up. Usopp is an archer. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Sanji is a soccer/football player, which makes perfect sense as well. And Chopper is tennis themed, so yeah, that's very fun. I love this. Chapter 153,
Chopper would suck at tennis, bro. He's lower than the net.
154 and 155 continue the Django cover story, so nothing to see here. I'm done with Volume 17's content, so here is Volume 18's cover, and yep, Arabasta time with Ace being right there. You see Nami smiling at the top with Vivi also at the bottom, and you see the rest of the crew actually in the middle, struggling because the camel only carried Nami and Vivi, which is why they're not struggling and why they're just, smiling or just looking normal. Chapter 156's cover is actually very cool, a double-page color spread with the men of the Straw Hat crew. Let's switch over to Color Walk 2 right now. Sanji's pouring some drink, Luffy is looking cool sitting on this huge skeleton's head, while the rest of the guys are posing with varying outfits, and Usopp has a very interesting one. Let's just keep it at that. Oda's comment on this artwork in the Color Walk is this: skeletons of giant creatures are what adventure is all about. The giant beast ruled these parts in the past. In this land where these creatures no longer exist, the wind sure is strong now. Okay, that's actually a pretty good comment by Oda. Nice to see some insight, so yeah. No magazine cover this time, by the way. Chapter 157, 158, 159 continue the cover story with Django, so nothing much. Chapter 160's cover is a double-page color spread showcasing all of the Baroque Works members from Mr. 0 to Mr. 5, along with their female agents. Well, okay, Mr. 2 doesn't have one, so you actually just see Luffy awkwardly standing there with a camel. Interesting thing is that I want to point out is that everybody's skin color in the manga is actually lighter than it is in the anime, most notably with Robin, who in the anime has a tan. Now, I'm mentioning this because in the anime, Robin's design will actually start to become more manga accurate pretty soon. In about 60 to 70 episodes from now, Robin will actually have a lighter skin tone akin to Oda's coloring for her in the manga. So yeah, no comment from Oda on this artwork in the color walk, by the way. And also, One Piece isn't on the magazine cover. This week, Kishimoto actually drew this totally amazing Naruto artwork for this week's magazine issue. This was during the Chunin exams. I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, chapter 160, 162, 163, 164 continue the Django cover story. This is when Full Body unfortunately had to arrest him because he's a pirate. So yeah, those are 4 chapter covers quickly out of the way. Chapter 165 is a single page color cover, and I really like this one a lot. Everybody is in their Arabasta clothes, as you can see, with Luffy drinking the water that they brought along, Zoro being ready right behind him, Chopper's eating, Sanji is peeling an apple, Vivi is writing things down. Now, what Usopp is actually doing is very interesting to me because I think he's actually working on Nami's Klimatuct weapon, the weapon that she obviously uses to cast clouds and lightning and stuff, right? Because not too long after this is when she received the weapon. If this cover is a hint, that is actually pretty interesting. And Nami herself, on the other hand, is winking, holding the perfume that she used that really annoyed Chopper because his nose is very sensitive to it. One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine this week, right here, along with all the other Shonen Jump series going on at the time. This was at the end of the year 2000, close to New Year's of 2000. 2001. They always have these covers, like feature every single Shonen Jump protagonist for Christmas and New Year's magazine issue. So yeah, chapter 166 cover is a continuation of the cover story, nothing special. But because the issue this chapter is featured in is New Year's 2001's magazine issue, Luffy is featured on the cover with all the other Shonen Jump protagonists. No calendar artwork though. I think One Piece stopped having those in favor of other Shonen Jump series having them. That is it for all the chapters in volume 18. The final volume I will talk about is volume 19, and that is this cover. It's Luffy imitating Sanji because this is actually when they got stuck in that cell Crocodile put them in. We see Koza, Chaka, Pell, and Cobra in the back as well. Usopp is laughing at Luffy's imitation. It's a funny cover, but also a serious one at the same time. Well, chapter 167, 168, and 169's covers continue the Django cover story. This is when they were about to say farewell. And then chapter 170, 171, and 172 is the end of the cover story with Django and Full Body, with both now being under Hina's lead. So that is cool. Now, chapter 173's cover is Luffy actually having a campfire dinner with some bears near a cliff. Back to the silly animal artworks Oda loves so much, so yeah. Chapter 174's cover is Zoro in a hot spring while it's snowing and is eating fruit and drinking sake with some Japanese snow monkeys, so yeah, once again, fun. But chapter 175's cover is my shit. I freaking love this one so much. It's a double-page color spread of Luffy and Nami, with Luffy actually wearing Native American-styled clothing while posing and stuff, while Nami sits next to him holding a damn rifle. This is so metal. I love this artwork too much. The big jaguar in the background has a rabbit-themed helmet on for some reason, but I swear, whenever I look at this jaguar, I just think of Lucci for some reason. Don't ask me why. Lucci is a leopard. It's not even the same animal. And this artwork was made long before he was introduced. This is Arabasta, of course. Oda's comment on this artwork in Color Block 2 is this: I had just returned from a trip to America when I drew this. I was inspired by Native American fashion. The rabbit has nothing to do with anything. Okay, so this explains the Native American style of it, right? Because I swear, this artwork reminds me of Skypiea for some reason. Maybe that trip to America is actually what inspired him to write Skypiea, with the Shandia people like, Calgutta, Wiper being inspired from Native American tribes. Because Skypiea happened right after Arabasta, right? Also, Luffy and Nami's combined efforts in Skypiea is what made them defeat Enel, and they're the two people on this cover. I mean, I kind of see this cover as a precursor to Skypiea. Like, she even just has a bra on in this cover like in Skypiea. That might just be a stretch for me, but come on, man. Like, the Native American stuff, these two specifically being the ones on the cover, and like they had the most important roles in the arc, maybe I'm looking into things too much, but I feel like it would be so cool if this has something to do with it. Maybe this cover actually inspired Oda to write Skypiea the way he wrote it. I don't know, maybe. But anyway, this week, One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine, with Luffy and Crocodile actually being colored, and I really love the way that Crocodile's golden hook looks. It's very cool, very detailed. Finally, chapter 176's cover is Chopper with his heavy point form, feeding a herd of sheep. Okay, simple, but it's actually funny that the animals of farm are feeding the animals. Oh well, that is it. This is it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed this. See ya.
I did enjoy it. I had some extra time today, so I decided to go back and watch it. I'm going to watch the Yap session after 362 as well, right after this. But yeah, this is really long, like a lot of extra info, but really long. I'm going to have to tell him to shorten it down to at least 5 minutes, like per episode, because this is like taking a while for me to skim through. But regardless, yeah, like I said, last 2 episodes I did skim through it, so most of this I already seen, but I decided to just like do it all. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna jump straight into the next Yap session, and then we're gonna finish it off for this episode. And then I'm gonna jump into the next episode, which also has a Yap session, so crazy. If you're still here, give me a second, but I doubt anybody's watching by this point. Okay, guys, we're about to venture into the Yap session after 361. The last one was 360. Let's go.
Volume 20's cover shows all the key players in the war that took place in Arabasta, with Karu in the middle for some reason. Neat cover, though. So, chapter 177's cover is Usopp and a dog sitting next to a twisted tree. Both of them have the same hats on, and they both are biting on some jerky. Usopp is trying to look cool as always. Chapter 178's cover is Vivi balance walking down the side of a staircase, and suddenly a smitten eel actually emerges from the water in order to court her with a rose in its mouth. Alright then. Vivi's outfit here looks really great, by the way. This week, One Piece is actually featured on the magazine cover, with Luffy doing a high five with the main character of another manga, Kochikame. This is because both of their anime actually aired back to back.
Why does my man have a unibrow, and why does it look so goofy you. Who the hell is this character on the left? That's crazy looking.
As you can see at the bottom, Kochikame aired at 7 and One Piece aired at 7:30. So yeah, nothing much. Chapter 179's cover is Karu riding this falcon through the skies high above the Going Merry. Basic, but cool. The duck using another bird for support. Maybe that falcon is supposed to symbolize Pell, who can turn into a falcon, obviously. Chapter 180's cover is Nami with 3 tanukis, and yes, actual tanukis now, not Chopper. They are all panning for gold in the stream of water. Nami's shirt even has gold written on it, as you can see right here. Actually, even a house in the back has a sign that says gold as well.
And she's dirty as hell, which implies that the gold is missing a Igor, so digger, gold digger, right? Like, look at her. She's dirty as hell. She was digging for gold, bro. She's a gold digger.
Same goes for the helmets that 2 of these tanukis are actually wearing on their head. All 4 of them are doing hard labor work, so yeah, that's pretty cool. One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine this week because this week was actually Golden Week. See, Golden Week is a holiday week in Japan every single year that takes place at the end of April to May. And there are festivals as well as lots of sales during Golden Week, kind of like a Black Friday kind of week, just much less intense. Heck, in the magazine version of Chapter 180's cover, there's even text on the cover promoting that volume 1 to 18 of One Piece are on sale during Golden Week, among other things being on sale that week. So yeah, pretty neat. Chapter 181's cover is Sanji and this bear waiting for the bus and playing a card game in order to kill the time. Basic.
Random.
However, the shirt of this bear actually says hitode, which is a Japanese word for the word starfish. Now this is interesting because the next chapter, Chapter 182, starts a cover story where we will actually encounter a starfish character. So maybe it means something, I don't know. But yeah, Chapter 182's cover is actually the start of a cover story with Hachi the octopus, right? Arlong's henchman. I briefly told you about this cover story like a while back, so, I will actually take my time this time instead of speeding through it because, like I said, I only talked about it briefly. Here are 4 chapters lined up. Now, I want you to listen closely and pay attention to this because, well, this cover story with Hachi the octopus will actually tie in with Fishman Island. I'm not going to say how, I'm not going to say when. That's all I'm just going to say, all right?
Okay, so this is important. This is an important cover story that I skimmed through last episode. So my editor was like crying and cussing at me. I told you in the episode to pay attention, you just skimmed through it. So that's why I came back. It was like, okay, I didn't have the time, bro. But like, make it 5 minutes, not 27, bro. All the info is very informative and I love it, but bro, I just don't have the time. I just do not have the time. So sometimes, like, I always make the time, but last time I just couldn't. So yeah, I just came through it. Sorry.
So this info will be relevant soon, and I have to say that because if I don't tell you that this is important, you will probably forget this info, and I would have told you all this for no reason.
I will forget it either way, bro. I think we both know this. I mean, not completely, but most of it, because I get a lot of info each day on my law job and here, and I can't jam pack all of it here, man. So some of it has to go out of the other ear, right? So it's just...
So in Chapter 182, Hachi the octopus escaped after Arlong, him, and his other members got taken in by the Marines. You see him jumping off the ship. Chapter 183, we see Hachi is free in the ocean and mostly recovered from his wounds. He actually decides to leave his pirate days behind him and roam the seafloors because it's his real home. Chapter 184, Hachi meets a panda shark, actually, who he actually helps remove a fish hook for because it was in its mouth. Chapter 185's cover is the panda shark actually bringing Hachi to its den because it's grateful, and he happens to have all sorts of items and products from the human world for some reason, like a fridge, with the panda shark actually given Hachi some meat. Chapter 184's cover is a break from the cover story, actually, as it is a double-page color spread with Luffy, Zoro, and Usopp. Luffy and Usopp are on a hippo, with Usopp having a bazooka. Zoro looks really cool here. They're exploring some place full of gears and clockwork. This cover actually got animated for one of the One Piece openings, by the way, and I remember you really liking this shot a lot, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
Cool.
This is it for Volume 20's contents. Now I'll show you Volume 21's cover. It is all the Buttock Works members, actually, from Crocodile down to Mr. 4, so all members that fought in Arabasta. It seems like they're staring into the distance. I really like Crocodile's hook design still, by the way. So continuing with the Hachi cover story, in Chapter 187, Hachi actually resurfaces on this tiny island where Hachi finds this starving man, and he actually gives this starving man his meat. In chapter 188, the man who's now fishing gives Hachi actually a ring as a parting gift for giving him food, so that's cool. In chapter...
This is interesting, because Hachi was a mean mother effer under Arlong, but now on his own, I mean, I guess even under Arlong we saw his goofy side. It was only when it came to fighting that he was mean as hell, but when he's on his own here with no influence like Arlong, he's actually a decent dude, bro.
189's cover, Hachi encounters a goldfish princess in this place called the Goldfish Empire, and the princess is all teary-eyed and actually recognizes the ring in Hachi's hand. And in chapter 190's cover, the Goldfish Empire actually gives Hachi a golden trident for retrieving the ring. As it turns out, the princess needed the ring for her wedding. Chapter 91's cover, Hachi finds a sea boar desperately trying to not get eaten by a sea king. Then in chapter 192's cover, you see Hachan saving the sea boar by defeating the sea king with his newly obtained trident. Chapter 193's cover, we see the sea boar struggling with something in its mouth as Hachan is actually watching in confusion. Now, before I continue, the week of chapter 191's release, One Piece was featured on the cover of the Shonen Jump magazine, and it was actually summer themed because this was released in summer of 2001. We see Luffy going in the water with two floaties, and there's text all around them. By the way, Luffy has a trident, which is funny because Hachi literally just got a trident whenever this chapter came out, so I think that's pretty funny to see. But anyway, there's text all around them. The guys are yelling at him for being an idiot. Luffy's thinking to himself like, oh no, I can do it. I can jump in the water. I won't drown, yada, yada, yada. And Nami, already in the water, is in shock, saying to herself that he's using two floaties. The color walk version makes it easier to see, but all the text has gone, unfortunately. It's only in the magazine cover. Oh yeah, and from now on, all the colored artwork will be in color walk 3, so all the colored artwork that I talked about before was put in color walk 1 and 2. So yeah, I completed those color walks. Moving on, chapter 194 is actually a break from the cover story yet again, with a single page color cover with Luffy surfing with a leash around his ankle. Sanji and Chopper are also surfing in the back on a longboard, and Zoro, Nami, and Usopp are actually surfing on the Going Merry. The text on top saying no breaks. This is actually the very last single page chapter cover in color. Every single color page for the chapter covers will be 2 pages wide from now on, right? Now, of course, the magazine covers and the volume covers are still like 1 page, but for the chapter cover, this is the very last one that is colored on just 1 page. This week, One Piece is actually not featured on the cover of the magazine. Instead, this week, it's Bleach's debut, with chapter 1 being released. But anyhow, continuing with the cover story, like I said, chapter 193, the sea boar was struggling with something in its mouth, and the cover for chapter 195, it is revealed that the sea boar had a mermaid and a starfish in its mouth. This is what I was talking about earlier with the cover story having a starfish, by the way. The mermaid is named Kami, and the starfish is named Papagu, or Papag. Now, you suck at remembering and pronouncing names unless you hear it like 1,000 times, so it's not like it matters, but I'm going to constantly say their names. But yeah, this is it for the content in volume 21. The final volume that I'm going to talk about is volume 22, and it's this cover. It is the Arabasta gang, and they're staring into the distance, with all of them having various facial expressions. Vivi, Karu, Zoro, and Sanji are showing negative emotions by looking mad. Luffy and Nami are showing positive emotions by Luffy just smiling, and Nami by playfully sticking out her tongue, while Usopp, Chopper, and Eyelashes the camel are just scared, given their sweat and their expressions. And actually, if you put volume 21 and volume 22's covers right next to each other, you get one complete art. So they're both just staring down their enemies. Very cool. Anyway, moving on, chapter 196's cover is Kami and Papagu thanking Hachi for saving them, with Hachi still being confused. In chapter 196,
which is interesting because he saved that boar whale, whatever, from getting eaten by a sea king, and so he saved the boar whale, and it turns out this mermaid and a starfish were inside of that boar, so that's hilarious.
Cover, 3 fishermen appear, with the guy in the middle leading his own pirate gang, and his name is Macro. Chapter 198 interrupts the story again with another double-page color spread. The crew is in this tropical lagoon, with Vivi waking up late, and the rest of the crew already having a bunch of fun. This cover got animated for a video game opening of all things, One Piece Grand Battle 2, released for the original PlayStation only in Japan, so it is kind of obscure information for me to know this. Oda's comment on this art in Color Walk 3 is this: the princess takes a holiday. This would be a lovely day to relax in peace and quiet. Some screaming and splashing, alright. It's not going to happen when you're adventuring with pirates. Yeah, exactly. I guess this artwork is her realizing that she can relax and, just sleep with this crew. That's pretty cute. But anyhow, this week One Piece is featured on the cover of the magazine, and it features the whole crew being afraid of something. Luffy has a fishing rod and is running away. Nami and Chopper are clinging on to Luffy for dear life. Usopp is speechless. Zoro is ready to draw a sword, and Sanji looks afraid as well. This cover is actually a double pager, because if you fold open to back, you realize that the thing that they're afraid of is this huge sea king and not like this small red fish that you're able to see in just one page. So yeah, pretty neat. Chapter 199's cover, Hachi actually knows Macro and his gang, and it makes sense given, Hachi's past with being a pirate. Kami and Papagu are a bit apprehensive about it though. Chapter 200's cover is actually Hachi trading in Kami to Macro's gang for a treasure map that apparently is for legendary takoyaki, with Kami having a horrified reaction. I guess deep down he really still does have the heart of a pirate, huh? Chapter 201's cover has a double-page color spread. The crew is preparing to fight, it seems. Well, except for Nami, who's just laying there, enjoying a drink.
Looking good.
And it seems like this dog with a tray on its head is who brought the drink to her. All right.
Yeah, that dog with the tray on its head looks like that dog penguin in Thriller Bark, right?
Then, there are also some doves in this artwork. Now, Oda's comment on this art in Color Walk 3 is this: at the time that I drew this, the world was going a bit crazy. The news was full of reports about wild happenings in countries around the globe, so I drew some doves. So for some context, this dropped shortly after 9/11. So Oda actually drew this artwork for this chapter's cover for some positivity after the world went absolutely insane back then.
Yeah.
So yeah. One Piece is also featured on the cover of the magazine, with the crew looking really cool actually, like dressed in black. Look at them all lined up and stuff. Really awesome, In the color walk, they actually line up differently for some reason. I don't know why. Like the ordering in which the characters are lined up has changed for the color walk, but whatever. I kind of like the one in the magazine version, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, actually, both this magazine cover and the chapter cover got animated for the one of the One Piece openings, and the difference is that Robin is actually added to it in the anime version because Toei animated it in Skypiea. They animated these cover arts in Skypiea, while Oda drew this during Arabasta and the manga. So yeah, I recall you actually really liking these black outfits whenever you saw that opening.
Yes.
So yeah, not only is there a magazine cover and a colored chapter cover this week, but there's also a giveaway held during this week. And if you won that giveaway, you got this really cool artwork. This one right here. The hero never dies. Awesome caption with every crew member silhouetted looking really intimidating. I find the caption actually really funny because this week's magazine issue, it came with chapter 201, and the cliffhanger of the chapter is Crocodile dehydrating Luffy. Is the caption for the artwork referencing the fact that Luffy totally was going to survive nearly getting killed the second time by Crocodile? Because if that's the case, Oda's being very self-aware. I like that. That's funny. Moving on, chapter 202's cover, after getting the takoyaki map, Hachi is jumping like a dolphin in search of the takoyaki recipe that the map points to. Chapter 203's cover, Hachi is remembering how a former love of his, Octopako, rejected him for actually making bad takoyaki, and he hopes to win her heart over after finding the recipe. In chapter 204's cover, Hachi finds the place where the map told him he should be, and there's actually just a huge ferocious octopus there. There's no recipe or anything. I guess this is karma for trading in Kami. The final chapter for today, chapter 205, Hachi realizes that Macro tricked him, so in pure rage, he beats the heck out of the giant octopus. But I'm done here, for I have talked for way too long. My bad.
Indeed.
I'll continue this next time, so this is it. See ya.
Okay, so we already saw the next time right before all of this. So I kind of went backwards, but I'm glad I did. This was a very interesting cover story. I like Hachi, and he's still strong as hell, destroying that octopus like it was nothing, right? In a fit of rage. But yeah, not much to add here. I was just soaking up all the info. Looks like this cover story is going to be important for the Fishman arc that's coming. I think Fishman Island, right? They said it was next, but we somehow ventured into this ghost island that's called Thriller Bark. So what the hell is happening? But yeah, I'm just noticing how diverse One Piece is. I mean, listen, I don't know why I'm even talking. Probably nobody's listening by now. Like, this is like an hour-long reaction for no reason. But my editor should be listening to this. So yeah, good work. I liked it. But from now on, keep it short, bro. 5 minutes per episode. This was crazy. That being said, I really enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed the reaction, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Love you. Enjoy. And bye.